I made a video years ago. I say about 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago, where I said not to listen to Rotten Tomatoes. I told people when it comes to going to see movies, the best thing you can do is not listen to Rotten Tomatoes and don't take critics so seriously. Because what the critics like, you may not like. What the critics dislike, you may dislike or you may like. It just depends. Here's a good example: Ghostbusters Afterlife. Here we have a film that was made specifically for fans of the '84 Ghostbusters movie. This movie was not made for young. I mean, you could say some of it's targeted toward young kids, but people who didn't grow up with Ghostbusters are not going to appreciate the movie like the ones that did. It's not really made for people looking for anything that's truly artistic or anything that's, film noir. It's a fun little kids movie that's also a movie for fans of the original film. That's all this was. That's all this was. It's a nostalgic romp to make people smile and to make them cry. That's it. 61% critic review, 96% audience review. 96 is an extremely high rating. And I think a lot of times when these movies get very high ratings, I feel like it's because more and more people are leaving their positive reviews because they want to make sure that those who are reading Rotten Tomatoes don't listen to the critics and instead listen to them. It's almost like they're rebelling against the critics. We saw this with so many different films of the past. Ghostbusters Afterlife is not a perfect movie. The movie has flaws. There's a lot of things in the film that are very unrealistic that don't make any sense, and characters learn stuff without really earning them at times. At times. But I mean, the same thing happened in the original Ghostbusters. They literally go from, running away from a ghost at the beginning of the film to Egon saying we could probably catch one of these things at some point. To they just know how they figure out how to catch them, like fast. That happened in the first film, and that's considered a classic by everyone. 96%. I want to talk about fan service here for a minute, but first I want to discuss what happened on Twitter today. Well, not today. As of this recording, it was today, but there was a critic. Now, I don't really attack people on Twitter. Maybe I did before, but I don't. But Into the Crevice is a reviewer for The Guardian who basically stated this right here. This is what he said. He said, a nostalgic object drained of personality and fitted into a dully palatable mold, custom made for a fandom that worships everything and respects nothing. I don't understand what he means by a fandom that respects nothing. Is he talking about the fans don't like in 2016? Is that what it is? So I asked that. Then I would go on to say, excuse me, sir, but this is a very misguided and quite frankly disrespectful and ignorant take. Notice I'm being polite. This film is made for a fandom that loves the 1984 film by a filmmaker who does. A critic should be able to figure this out if he uses that device between their ears for 2 seconds. This movie's targeted for people that love the '84 Ghostbusters. So as a critic, you have to review the film for its target audience. If I'm going to go watch, let's say, the next Pixar movie, Encanto or whatever, let's say I go see that, and I sit there and I say, it was okay, but it's not like Avengers Endgame, you would think I was a moron because there's different target audiences. Granted, there's people who watch both movies, but they're two very different movies. Well, this wasn't really The Godfather, so I got to give it a 2 out of 5. It doesn't work that way. You have to judge a film based on what it's trying to do, and this movie tried to fix the problems the 2016 movie did and kind of get the fandom invested in Ghostbusters again while also showing respects to not only Harold Ramis and his work, but also Ghostbusters as a whole. So I go on to say, films are made for a specific audience, and there is nothing wrong with that. I don't understand how critics can say it has no substance when it has plenty of heart, more than 90% of the bullshit Hollywood pukes out per year. These self-centered egotistical are a joke. I meant to write egotists, not egotistical. And he responded back to me, he wrote, glad you're reading my work, which is, that's very much a Like I've answered like that before. I've actually responded like that before. That's one of those responses that you give to a troll when you think they're trolling. But I'm not a troll, buddy boy. You got 14,000 Twitter followers. I have 83,000. I'm not a troll, buddy. I'm a critic like you. So I wrote your quotes on Wikipedia, so that might be where all of the anger is coming from. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because we share differing opinions, but saying an entire fan base respects nothing is a horrible thing to say and very prejudiced. I find it stupid, not ignorant, not self-centered, even though those are words that I would use. I find it fucking moronic when a critic attacks a fan base. We saw it with 2016 Ghostbusters. We saw it with The Last Jedi, where you have the company and the critics, which some are calling them woke, paid off critics. I'm not going to say that they're woke and they're paid off. If you think they are, cool. I can't prove that. I cannot prove that this guy, Charles Bremesk or whatever, is getting paid to say what he say. I can't prove it. So I'm not going to sit here and create this illusion that I know what I'm talking about because I don't know. But to say the entire fandom respects nothing because 2016 sucked, the problem with Ghostbusters 2016 was not the fact that it was an all-female cast. That was never the problem. The problem is that it's not funny and it's a poorly made film. That's the problem. It has nothing to do with the all-female cast. If they had an all-female cast and it was funny and well made, that's a different story. But it's not funny and it's not well made. And also, when the idiots in the comment section were being sexist, Sony took it upon themselves to blame the entire critical fandom over it, when it's not the entire critical fandom. Same thing with The Last Jedi. People were sitting there saying that sexists hate The Last Jedi. Maybe they do. But Star Wars fans also hated it. And some loved it. You have to be objective with everything. If Ghostbusters 2016 is made for the fans of the 1984 film, then it accomplished what it needed to do, in my opinion. And if you think that it didn't, you should state why in your review and not talk about how it's nostalgia. Let me talk about fan service for a minute because I'm really, really tired of this. Critics sit there and they say, well, we watch a lot of movies, so we can say, no, you know, I watch a lot of movies too. And I have friends who watch even more movies than I do, and they don't think like this. This idea that fanboys and fans are somehow beneath them is so goddamn egotistical. Well, we watch our tour movies and indie films so we can really judge a movie. The narcissism behind that. And I'm not saying that they say that, but when they write reviews like this, it comes off like that's what they're saying. That's the attitude. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But it just comes off like that. It comes off like they feel that they know more than anybody who's a fan or a fanboy. But guess what, Einstein? If you're a movie critic, that means you're a fanboy for movies, right? So you're no different than they are. And this man's quote saying that the fandom worships everything and respects nothing. He's basically saying that the fanboys jack off of the nostalgia and that they hate anything that's separate from that, which is not true. 80% of this film was about the new cast. 80% of this film was about Egon's grandkids, not about Egon necessarily, even though he's obviously tied into it. So were the old Ghostbusters. But the movie was meant to establish a new audience, a new crowd, a new set of heroes, while still showing respect to the original. And it accomplished that, in my opinion. And in a lot of people's opinion. 96%. It was at 95 yesterday. 96. 61 for the critics. Very misguided opinion there. Well, the fanboys. It's like, I don't see the problem with filmmakers making a movie for the fans. If your film has fan service and the fan service trumps over the story, then it's a problem. But if you have a good story, if you can tell a good coming of age story that has an arc and development for at least one or maybe even more than one character, and you also have fan service, then it's a pretty well made film. And that's what Ghostbusters Afterlife was. Yeah, it's got issues, of course. The humor's not the best. Characters get a little too smart. But this quote from Charles Bramesco is so off the wall. And that's one problem I have with these goddamn critics. It's not just about criticizing a movie, it's about insulting the fandom for a fandom that worships everything and respects nothing. Who are you to say that a fandom respects nothing? Like, what kind of, like, who do you think you are, dude? You're a guy with 14,000 followers, 14,000 followers who writes for The Guardian. Who the fuck reads The Guardian? No offense. I'm not disrespecting the man. I'm not trying to. And 14,000 followers is nice. And I'm not saying that that's not a big number, because it is. And I'm not saying I have more followers than him, so that makes me better. That's not true. That is not true. But you're never going to hear me sit here and insult an entire fandom and say that they don't respect anything. And I've made jokes about fandoms before, but I'm part of so many fandoms, I'm obviously in on the joke, right? Because I'm part of so many fandoms. Maybe he meant it as a joke. Come on, bro. And the fact that he's saying, glad you're reading my work. Well, you should be glad, bro, because I guess not a lot of people are. But it is on Wikipedia. It's there. Maybe he's happy that somebody with clout's actually reading his thing. I don't even have that much clout. I don't think I do anyways. Especially not in this industry. But I thought I was respectful to this man. Saying the entire fan base respects nothing. Very prejudiced. And I'm not going to go after him calling him a douchebag or a shill. You guys can do that if you want to. That's not what I do. I come at you intellect to intellect, blow for blow. And this man's older than me. Let's see if he can go toe to toe 12 rounds with Muhammad Geekdom. Let's see if he can. I don't think so. Because what's he going to say? Well, I didn't like the movie. Okay, fair enough. You didn't like the movie. Then why do you have to say that the movie was made for a fandom that worships everything and respects nothing? You didn't have to put that in your review. You could have just said it's made for fans of the original movie, which I'm not a fan of, or I am a fan of, but I want something new. You could have said that. But this kind of was something new. It just still respected the old. This is what people wanted after Ghostbusters 2016. They wanted something like this. The movie is trending higher than Sony wanted. The movie was supposed to make 30 million at the box office. It's making 40 million now, and we don't even have all the numbers in yet. And that's not like Marvel numbers, but that's pretty damn good for a movie they didn't think was going to do that well. So once again, we have the critics versus the fans. And once again, I'm telling you, I'm imploring with you, do not listen to any of Rotten Tomatoes. At least not over here with the critic stuff. Over here with the audience, that's a little more palatable, as he would say. That's a little more, it makes a little bit more sense. But over here, it's just wild, bro. Jason Reitman wanted to make a film for the fans. That's what he wanted. Not for the 61, for the 96. That's what he wanted to do. And as a critic, you have to respect the goal, the intention. Even if you don't like a movie, at least understand what the intention was, because no filmmaker ever wants to make a bad movie. Even the ones that are bad, actual bad movies, they don't want to make a bad movie. They think they're making a good one. So we have to show some respect. But this dude from The Guardian, oh, I'm a freelance film critic. Okay. Well, good luck with your career, bro. I mean, I hope that this guy does well, but let me tell you something. Going after an entire fandom, that ain't it, Chief. And I really hope that people need to learn from Lucasfilm and from Sony what not to do. Do not attack the fans of a property. It's going to come back to bite you.